Hey guys, it's Jeff from Pressure Luck, and today I feel like casting a spell on all of you. Okay, actually, it's more like a food spell. It's a good food spell. It's like a good, wonderful, prosperous spell. Alright, so guys, I was inspired by Mardi Gras last week, mostly because Richard couldn't stop talking about it. He's like, I want a king cake, and all these things, and he wanted to wear beads and all these things. So I was like, I gotta do a dish that's going to remind me a little bit of being in New Orleans, you know? So I decided to take some typical things you get in New Orleans cuisine, like some andouille sausage, some okra, and turn it into some sort of pasta dish. And I said, what better name to call it than Voodoo Pasta? Because, you know, New Orleans has all these wonderful things about voodoo going on down there. Now, if you have a voodoo doll of anybody, don't do bad things with it. You know, make it do a kick line or something, that'd be funny, but don't like stick pins in it, that's not nice. If you have one of me, please don't do that, or don't throw it down the stairs. You know, like in the movie Teen Witch when she does it to her teacher, you know, never mind. So let me also just say right up front that this is totally my creation. No war is to be waged upon Cajun versus Creole versus New Orleans cooking and what the real thing is. This is a dish that's basically fictitious. I'm just coming up with it myself in my own spin, so there's no rules here. It's just gonna be delicious because I love that type of cuisine. So guys, let's channel our inner Marie Laveau's and make some delicious, happy voodoo pasta. Let's go. So let's begin with 1 red onion and dice it up. Now I'll take a nice sized green bell pepper and dice that up and add them to the onions. And I'm also going to add in about 2 stalks of celery that I've already had pre-chopped, which I got from the supermarket like this, because, you know, it saves some time. I saw it like that, I went with it, and I'm going to add that to the mix. And that, guys, we're going to call the Holy Trinity. Onion, bell pepper, and celery is the Holy Trinity of, like, Southern cooking for anything like Louisiana or New Orleans style. Or Cajun or Creole or whatever. And again, that's about 2 stalks worth of celery. Alright, and that's our Holy Trinity of vegetables. Let's set that aside. Okay, now I want to focus on about a pound of an andouille or a smoked sausage that has a little bit of spice to it. But if you don't want that, you can really go with any kind of sausage. But honestly, if you want it to be voodoo style, we're going to use some andouille or a smoked sausage with a little bit of zest. Now let's take that sausage. Let's slice it into discs about a ½ inch thick, so it should look just like this. And then slice each one of those discs into quarters so they look like little Trivial Pursuit pieces. You see that? This is going to be the perfect bite-sized piece so that when all said and done, it looks just like this. Alright guys, let's set that aside and continue on. So now let's go to the Instant Pot and add in 1/4 cup of extra virgin olive oil. Now let's come down to the control panel and hit the saute button and adjust so we're on the more or the high setting. And after about 3 minutes of the oil heating up in the pot, we're now going to add in that Holy Trinity of celery, onions, and bell peppers. And stir that around in the pot for about 3 minutes. And then we'll just let this set and we'll stir occasionally for those 3 minutes. And then after about 3 minutes of our veggies sauteing in the pot, we're going to add in 1 tablespoon of crushed garlic. And we'll stir that up with everything else in the pot for about another minute. And after about a minute of our garlic and our veggies cooking together, we're going to add our meat. I'm going to add in 1 pound of a ground beef, or you can use ground turkey, ground pork, or ground veal, whatever you want. And then just break that up in the pot, and we're going to want this to brown and crumble a little bit. Let's get the meat nice and mixed up with our veggies. And as it heats up, that's when it'll begin to crumble. And all in all, this process here should take about another 3 minutes. Just make sure you're kind of stirring that ground meat up in the pot. And after about 3 minutes of cooking the meat in the pot, you're going to see it's going to be the perfect color. It's not going to be fully cooked yet, really, but that's fine. It's going to happen when we pressure cook. This is the perfect level of color we want, and it's nice and crumbled. And to that, we'll add our andouille sausage. And now I should say, this sausage is pre-cooked, so it really doesn't need any cooking and sauteing really in the pot that much at all. We're just going to do this for about another minute or 2. If you're using raw sausage, go for about 3 minutes. But again, when we pressure cook, it's going to cook everything, so it's really fine. Just make sure you really also kind of scrape and deglaze the bottom of the pot. We don't really want anything stuck onto it, but that shouldn't happen anyway. Alright. Alright guys, now I want to add in some broth, and I'm going to be adding in 2 cups of ham broth. And ham broth is this stuff right here, ham Better Than Bouillon base. I'm using 2 teaspoons of this mixed with 2 cups of water. That equals 2 cups of ham broth. But if you don't have it, you can totally use chicken broth instead. Use 2 cups, but I'll link where you can get this. And here comes an interesting, unconventional pasta flavor addition here, guys. We're gonna put in some beer. You better believe it. Now, don't use a fancy beer. Pabst Blue Ribbon, I know, it's the stuff you get in college or really cheap happy hours. Totally fine here. Or a Budweiser. Use one of those, but don't use like a dark beer like a Guinness or an IPA. Use something of that nature, like one of these. I'm gonna add in 1 cup of it. Let's just stir everything around in the pot. And now we'll add in one 28-ounce can of crushed tomatoes. And in you go. And this is an optional ingredient, but I'm going to add in 1.5 cups of frozen okra. You don't have to add it, but you know, given it's that southern New Orleans style, Cajun/Creole type thing, I feel like it's gonna be fitting for this. It almost gives it a little homage to a gumbo. Stir that in with everything, make sure everything's nice and combined. And now we're gonna season this up. I'm gonna take a teaspoon of black pepper, a teaspoon of seasoned salt, a teaspoon of sugar, a teaspoon of garlic powder, a teaspoon of onion powder, a teaspoon of Italian seasoning, a teaspoon of oregano, and 1 tablespoon of Creole or Cajun seasoning. Now the kind that I like to use for this, guys, is Tony Chachere's. You can get this in a lot of supermarkets, especially in the South, or you can get it online. It's really easy to get. This stuff is amazing, but really any Cajun or Creole seasoning will do. And I'll totally get flack for combining the two. And I'll just stir everything around in the pot so all the seasonings get nice and combined. And finally, let's add in our pasta. And I am using Celentani or Cavatappi. It's the kind that looks like macaroni, but with like extra curls. It almost looks like pigtails. And I'm adding 1 pound or an entire box full. Now, we are not going to stir our pasta in, we're simply just going to submerge it. So just press it down with a spoon, so make sure it's nice and covered by everything inside the pot. Do not want to make sure that we're stirring it up though. So just like this, so it's submerged. If it's iceberging a little bit above, that's totally fine. This is how we want it, guys. Just like this. Okay, we're now ready to put our lid on and pressure cook. You know the drill. We're going to secure our lid. Make sure that we're in sealing position. Now let's come down to the control panel again and hit the cancel or the keep warm cancel button depending on your model. And now we're gonna hit the pressure cook button or the manual button depending on your model. And we are going to go for 6 minutes at high pressure. Now how do you change the pressure level? That's what the pressure level button is for. You hit it again to hit low or again to hit high. But we only really ever use high, so don't even worry about that. And on the models with the nicer screen, you're also gonna have another setting up here. Don't worry, always leave it on normal. Don't ever adjust that. So we want it at high pressure for 6 minutes on normal setting. And now while our pasta is cooking, let's make the fromage mixture. And that's just cheese in French. But you know, since we're making like a New Orleans style type thing here and it has like that French influence, we're gonna call it the fromage. I'm gonna take a mixing bowl and I'm gonna begin with adding 2 eggs that I'm just gonna crack in and scramble. And there we go, and I just did that after just beating it with a fork for a few moments. And then to the eggs, I'm going to add in 1 15-ounce container of ricotta cheese, and I'm using part skim for this. And I'm gonna mix that up together so far in there. So we have a nice eggy ricotta mixture and get it nice and smooth. And this is totally optional, but I like it with a little bit of a kick, so I'm gonna add in a half a teaspoon of Tabasco sauce. And you could actually add more if you'd like, as well as a 1/4 teaspoon of crushed red pepper flakes. Now these go a long way, guys. They definitely have some spice. If you don't want them in there, simply leave them out. Let's mix that up. And you could add in more red pepper flakes and more Tabasco if you want, or like I said, you can omit them completely. Now I'm going to add in 1 cup of grated Parmesan cheese. This is gonna give it a nice salt factor. Mix that all up with our ricotta. It's also gonna make it nice and thick. See that? Looking perfect. And now 1 more cheese. I'm gonna add in 8 ounces or 2 cups of a cheddar and Monterey Jack combination, or you can just use, you know, 1 cup of each from separate bags, whatever. Or really whatever you want. I just think it really works best with some cheddar and Monterey Jack. Get that in there. And I'll mix it up in batches. It's almost like a pimento cheese of some sort, except we have ricotta instead of cream cheese. And then there's the rest of it. Final mix together. You're definitely going to want to use a somewhat sizable mixing bowl for this so it doesn't go all over the place when you're mixing it. This is about 2 quarts, the one that I'm using. But you see, it gets nice and thick when you mix all this up thanks to the Parmesan holding everything together, as well as the shredded cheese. Alright, we'll set this aside and we'll add it when we're ready. And now that we're done cooking, let's perform a quick release. And our pin just dropped, so let's take our lid off. And there's our pasta looking perfect. Now let's get a mixing spoon and really get under there and stir everything up. And you're gonna see that pasta will have expanded perfectly. It might have looked liquidy when we took the top off, but you'll see that was a misconception because the pasta has really cooked perfectly and expanded and absorbed most of that broth. But now, guys, we have 2 final things to add here. And that is going to be a 6-ounce can of tomato paste. Just get that in there. You don't wanna waste the paste. There we go, guys. Perfect. And stir that in with all of our pasta. It'll meld in very quickly due to the heat. All right, and once our tomato paste is nice and melded, our final ingredient is going to be our glorious cheese mixture. Put that in there, and you could do it in batches. Probably about 2 batches is gonna be good. And then just stir that up with everything in the pot. Make sure that cheese will become nice and melded in with everything else in there. Put the rest in there. I'll just stir that in with everything in the pot. Get it really nice and thoroughly mixed in so it gets totally melded and combined. Get to the bottom of there and make sure we do like some swooping cycles. Get that cheese mixture incorporated with it. And instantly, guys, it's like a spell, a voodoo spell of amazingness, because this pasta is going to be so cheesy and full of such a rich Cajun or Creole flavor. You know, again, I know they're different cuisines, but you know, they're gonna come to life and get married in this dish. And there we have it, guys. Voodoo pasta that is just coated and covered with amazing, amazing flavor, full of cheese, full of meats, with an incredible beer-infused tomato sauce. Guys, let's put this into some bowls and serve it up. I cannot wait to try it. Okay, and here we go. Put some of this amazingness into a bowl. Oh boy, yes. And the perfect bowl of pasta, voodoo style. And folks, I think it's now ready to serve. All that sausage, all that pasta, all that okra, all that amazingness coming right into your mouth. I mean, this is an unbelievably outrageous, indulgent pasta. So get ready, guys. Prepare yourselves, because you're about to fall under a spell. Folks, you're about to celebrate Mardi Gras in your mouth, because this dish is gonna take it to the next level of flavor. All right, now here's a nice heaping bowl of this amazingness with some steam coming out, and let's give it a try, all right? Oh man, you know what this tastes like? It tastes like a Cajun or Creole New Orleans style lasagna, but in a pasta. Because all the cheese mixed together with all the andouille sausage and the Holy Trinity and the okra in there. It's like a gumbo met a mac and cheese met a baked ziti. Something of that nature. It's delicious. It's divine. It's to die for. So even with me putting the Tabasco sauce in there and a little bit of the crushed red pepper flakes, it's not even spicy. It's just a little tinge of spice. So if you don't like any spice, just leave it out. Or if you want a little bit more, just add some extra Tabasco and add some extra red pepper flakes. Maybe just double what I put in. Honestly, this thing is amazing, and I think it's so cheesy and delicious. If you want a little bit of less cheese, just half the cheese mixture, or you can just leave it out completely. You don't have to add it, but I really like it with all that fromage. We're calling it the fromage mixture. And I see some guest down there peeking his head up. Come up here, Richard, give it a try. There he is. Richard, what do you think?
You know I'm gonna try this.
Try out what if we call it voodoo pasta. I'm putting a spell on him. How is that?
That's good.
Yeah?
Yeah.
That's good, because in 30 seconds you're gonna turn into a dog. I'm just kidding, I'm just kidding.
It's got a good, like, spicy edge. The okra is really good, I love it.
Yeah, the okra's a nice touch to it. It's like, who ever had okra in pasta, really, right? And, you know, mixing the andouille sausage in there, and then adding the whole dairy mixture, which again, it's, in my opinion, it's optional. You don't have to add it, but it really does send it home in a really special way. And then you have the Holy Trinity in there. You have celery, you have onion, and you have red, bell pepper.
Yeah, and you can taste all of it. It's very good.
Yeah, all of the flavors are combining. I think because I use hand broth, it infuses more of a smoky flavor to the pasta, but you can totally just use chicken broth if you can't get the ham. Also, I use beer in there. There's a cup of beer, which I think is a nice touch for this pasta specifically, because, you know...
Beer in here?
Yeah, there's still some left in here. Here you go. There's the leftover Pabst. I use Pabst. Because, like, if you're gonna use beer in a pasta, just go with the cheap stuff, you know? This stuff is perfect for cooking with. Great for using this to also beer batter fries and onion rings and stuff, which is the only way and drunk chicken. It's a good beer for that. You're gonna have a sip? I'm gonna sip.
You need a bit smaller can for a drunk chicken, though.
Nothing like a cold beer when you have a dish that's a little bit hot.
All right.
Guys, this stuff is really, truly phenomenal. Incredibly comforting. But I mean, the pasta really is incredible, the way everything comes together with the okra and the sausage, and look at the little pigtail. I am spellbound from this recipe. Guys, if you enjoy these videos and recipes, check out pressurelowcooking.com, because I have tons of videos and recipes there, everything. You don't want to miss it. Just search it out. It's everything there if you want, from categories to just searching something in a little magnifying glass. Facebook.com/pressurelowcooking. Go there and like that page for any time a new recipe comes out, deals on items, tips, things like that. And at Pressure Luck to subscribe to me on YouTube, because all my videos are easily cataloged right on YouTube, Pinterest, Twitter, and Instagram. Thank you so much again, and have some more voodoo pasta. Delicious.